today we are filming another episode in our series on the fiber processing equipment. Today we are going to be talking about all aspects of carding. We'll be demonstrating how to use both of our carders. We'll be demonstrating roving versus cloud. We'll be demonstrating different types of fibers, wool versus alpaca, troubleshooting, and the ins and outs of carding.
Hey, we're Chris and Teresa, and we would love to guide you on your fiber arts journey. We own a successful fiber processing mill and online needle felting business, experienced at raising all fiber animals, and have renovated a 100-year-old school into a fiber arts retreat center.
Processing, needle felting, yarn, roving, fiber animals, and sustainable agriculture are all topics discussed here. Think of this as your one-stop shop for advice, information, tips, and getting your questions answered on all things from farm to needle. So pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be inspired while you learn. This is YouTube.
I am Chris Armbrust with Shepherd Industries, and we are getting right into carding. Today we are going to talk about the two carding machines that we have here that we use at the mill. This is a Belfast mini mill carder, this blue one right here, and we use this carder. Generally we have both carders going all day long, but this one we use generally, we are carding on here into what we call cloud. And what we use that for is then to take and we felt it into felted sheets for many of our products that we sell on bearcreekfelting.com. So anywho, I'm going to explain what is going on here. It's aligning the fibers. These are carding combs. These are what they used to use to do what this machine does now. Whereas they would put the wool in, then they would go back and forth like this, and in essence they're combing and they're aligning the fibers. Whereas that's exactly what this machine does, is it's taking this wool. This is Cornwall wool that we have on it. This is our fine wool that is raised at the Bear Creek Ranch. And this is what we use to felt into the covers for the 100% wool needle felting cushions. Cornwall wool wet felts absolutely beautifully, and it also makes a gorgeous yarn. But today we are making it into cloud to felt. So why do we need to card it? Why do we need to card it if it's going to be going over to the felter? Because it makes a much smoother felt. If we took this as it is, and this fiber has come directly off the picker, and if you're interested in how that stage worked, is you can sure just jump on over to our episode on how the picker works. But anywho, so as you can see, this is nice. It's all opened up, but all the fibers are going in all different directions. So what this machine is going to do is it's going to comb it and align it, and it's going to come off in just a gentle, real thin sheet, and it'll just roll off into our bucket we have on the other end. Now, how this is done is we have lines on this feed sheet to keep a consistent sheet coming out of there. Is we weigh the fiber prior to putting it on the sheet here. So we're going to put 3 ounces between these lines. 3 ounces goes every single time. So we dump our 3 ounces on here and we spread out our fiber, and at this point I will pull off any chaff, anything that I don't want in our finished cloud there, because they're sheep and they don't live in our living room. So we don't acid wash our wool. We use Echo Scour to wash our wool, so every now and then you might find a little bit of the North Dakota prairie in your yarn or roving. But that's a good thing. That means that we haven't acid washed it, which is horrible for the environment. Anywho, so now I've got this laid out on our feed sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on, and this conveyor belt is slowly going to start to move, feeding the fiber in, and it's got 2 rollers that it hits first that grab the fiber and slowly feed it into the main drum, which is on the inside here, and then they've got workers and slickers that go all the way around here that as the fiber goes around that main drum and gets taken off and wrapped around the other worker until it exits on the other side, then you will see, then it'll be aligned And you will see, as it does that, it also will kick out some chaff, some shortcuts. As you see this, just see all those little tiny little shortcuts? Those are we don't want those in our roving. And yeah, so it kicks it out and it puts it underneath so that we can just clean that out after we do our carding session. So I think now we're ready to turn the machine on. It's very quiet. It's not a noisy machine. Okay, so now we are on the opposite end of the carder, and this is what we call cloud. As you can see, it's just real thin sheets that have come off, and we put it in here, and this is what we take then to the felter to felt. And all the fiber is aligned in the direction, so it just felt so much easier. Another thing we can do with this machine is put a bat drum right here. So as it comes off here, it will roll it around the drum into a bat, and then we'll cut it off, and then we'll have a bat that can be used for quilting and the like. Another thing we can do with this machine is put this roving deck on, and then it will kick out roving, which we are going to talk about next on the green machine. Stay tuned for our next upcoming episode where we show how this is turned into felt on one of our 2 felting machines. Here we are at our second carder that we have here at the mill. This is a Tex-Tech carder, and this is a very fine tooth carder. We can do very, very fine fibers. We can even do 100% Angora rabbit on this carder. This other carder behind me, the blue carder, is a little coarser carder, and it doesn't do quite as good a job on those real fine fibers as this one does. So what we have laid out before you here on this intake sheet here that is ready to go into this carder and has already started this is what we call, this is a yarn that we always carry here at Shepherd Industries here on site, and also online we generally have this yarn. It's currently sold out, that's why we're making more. But what it is it's kind of the mill ends that we have of our own fibers that we collect, and then when we get a certain amount, we combine them all at the picker, and we do it with a 70% alpaca and 30% wool. And then we blend in silks with it. And we do the silks, we spread the silks out at this stage. We do not blend them at the picking stage. So what you see here is all these different fibers are blended, and they're all different colors, and you're going to see as it goes through the carder, it's going to come out the other end in a nice soft gray. It's not going to be all calico looking like this is here. This is very similar to that we do is at a steel factory where they put all the ends of their steel rods and whatnot, they put it back in the molting bucket and remelt it back down and reuse it. And that's in essence what we're doing here. So as you can see, what we have blended in here, this is pulled sari silk. What this is we have partnered with some gals over in India, and they collect the used threads after they make the saris over in India, and they take those threads and they run them through a carding machine over in India, and it opens up those threads and it makes it into a thin roving form of all these beautiful colors of sari silk. And what they do now, as we spread them on this other fiber going into the carder, is this is going to nep up. It's going to make little balls, and it's going to add texture and beautiful color variations in the yarn once it's finished. And you'll also see it in the roving. It's kind of like a Fruity Pebble look, confetti look. So here we are. Here we have, it's very similar to the blue carder, but the the fiber has to be weighed out as it's put on this feed sheet. The feed sheet, the area on this carder is twice, if not 3 times as long as it is on this carder. So we weigh out 8 ounces on this one. And it feeds in slower. We have a little more control of all the working parts on here than we do on this machine. This machine, I can control the speed of the main drum, the speed of the workers, the speed of the slickers, everything separately. So, and that we can dial that in so we get exactly the size of roving that we want from this machine. This machine also can do cloud. It also can do bats, but we mainly do roving on this machine. Here we are turning the carder on. And as it's running, this is called roving. This is a false twister, is what it's going through. It's coming off the intake sheet, feeding into here, and that forms it into this rope-like roving. And you can see there's a stripe of the sari silk as it comes out. You can see the color of the different fibers now has been blended into a nice soft gray. It's absolutely beautiful. And it just continues to feed it out. Now, if I wanted this to fall out as cloud, like we were doing on the blue carder, it would not enter through this end of the machine. It would just fall straight down from this feed sheet right here. And then we just continue to feed it in on that side and let it come out on this side. And this is going to be spun into yarn. So you're going to want to look at the next episode of the pin drafting stage, because that's the next step this is going to go to. Now, if this was roving that was going to go into the kits or going to be hand spun or used for crafting of some other type, this would be the end of it. This would be the roving that would be the end of the process. But we are going to spin this, so it's got to go on to the other 3 machines. So we meter this. I have it's metering, it's keeping track of how many yards are coming off of here. So I like to pull it off about 18 to 22 yards, thereabouts, to run it through the pin drafter, which is the next machine we're going to go through. So I just continue to let it go down. This is very similar to the blue carder as well. Underneath here is where it spits out any short fibers, any chaff. This carder does an even better job at taking those undesirable fibers or debris out of the finished rovings. But the short fibers, as you can see that it's kicking out, are very short. But we do not throw this away. You will find out in the felting episode what we do with all these short little fibers that aren't good for either roving or yarn. Some issues that can happen at carding: if the roving is not completely scoured, it will not card well. It will nep, it will chunk, and it will not run through, it will not run around properly on the rollers. So the fiber has to be completely scoured. If the fiber is still wet and not completely dry, it behaves in the same manner. Here are all the different controls. We can control how fast the fiber is fed in. We can control how fast it's removed from the main drum. That's called the doffer, that removes it off of that drum and puts it down onto the takeoff sheet. And we can control how fast this sheet takes it off, which can control how thick or thin this final roving is. I can control the speed of the main workers, and I can control the speed of the main drum. I don't touch those two speeds very often at all, but I do alter the other three quite frequently, depending upon what we are carding at the time. As you can see, there's many working parts on this machine. So the maintenance of this machine is lots of greasing. There's grease zerks that are on every one of these bearings, and periodically we need to grease them. I can always tell when a bearing needs grease is because it starts to get warm. And if it really needs grease, it gets very hot because the ball bearings inside that bearing are creating so much friction, it heats up that housing that those bearings are in. Fiber is very damaging to bearings, so it's almost a maintenance item. Probably every 3-4 months, one of these bearings will need to be replaced because the fiber will get in and lock up those ball bearings inside there. Every once a year, we take the rollers off and we clean with a solvent the main drum to get any excess dirt that gets stuck in the very, very super fine teeth. If it's too much static in here, as the fiber is exiting, it won't even want to come off the takeoff sheet. It will want to roll back around. It'll stick to the sides. Static is one of the main issues that we have at many of the stages in the process. I'm going to turn this machine off. And we're going to get a close-up of what the teeth look like, how fine the teeth are that are carding. This is actually a dental pick that your dentist would use to clean your teeth. This is what we use to, if something gets caught in the teeth, we'll use this to flick it out.
Right.
Okay, so we have taken all the guards off of this machine in order to demonstrate it. Generally, there are guards that are all around it, but we have removed them so that you can see up close these rollers. And as you can see how fine the teeth are, you can see the tip of this dental tool in comparison to my fingernail. It just fits in between the rows, but it cannot fit in between the teeth. They're so tight together. So if there's something that I need to take out, I would have to go and dig it out like this. But that one's not wanting to come out. But you see this little bit of chaff that I just removed there? That does not get into the next batch. If it's stuck in the teeth, it's stuck in the teeth until I come with a little tool here and pick it out. And that is what we do once a year as well, is we meticulously, it takes about a day to go through all the rollers and flick out some of the chaff that's caught in it. Sometimes fiber gets down in there and gets stuck in it. But that's a yearly maintenance item that we do here at the mill. As you can see here on the edge of the bearings, there's some extra fiber. This machine is self-cleaning, so we can go from doing a white batch to directly going into a black batch. We don't have to worry about the white fibers contaminating the black batch then, because we let it run for 15, 20 minutes after we've done that, whatever color a batch, and it'll kick. The leftover fibers will come off and they'll be around the bearings here that we just go and we just clean them off. We don't recard these fibers because oftentimes they have grease on them from the bearings, but we do something with these fibers that you will see what we do with these on upcoming episodes. So yeah, so those are, that's a very good thing. There's a lot of mills that will do, the carders are a little more difficult to clean in between the different colors of fibers or the different types of fibers, but we're very fortunate. To follow this roving on the rest of its journey, please join us for our next episode in our series on fiber processing equipment.